We'll call our January 27, 2020 Board of Trustees regular meeting to order. Entertain a motion for the adoption of the agenda.
Second.
Properly moved and second. All in favor, I know by saying aye.
Aye.
If there are any opposes, hearing none. Entertain a motion for approval of minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and second for the approval of the minutes. All in favor, I know by saying aye.
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 Any opposes?
Abstain.
Reverend Collins abstain.
Move into executive session to consider items covered by attorney-client privilege.
It's properly moved. Is there a second?
Second.
So moved. We're now entering into executive session. Okay, we will now reconvene open session of our June 27, 2020 Board of Trustees meeting. At this time now, I ask for a moment of silence. That's not you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we entertain a motion for an executive item 4A.
I move that we reverse the constituent board decision and place the student at the requested school.
Second.
Properly moving and second. Are there any questions? Motion made by Kate Darby, second by Reverend Collins. I ask that you please cast your vote. That motion passes. Item 4B.
I move that we request for the student to remain enrolled for the remainder of the 2019-2020 school year only, and that tuition be waived.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Are there any questions? Hearing none, we ask that you please cast your vote. That motion passes. Item 4C.
I move that we approve the request for two students to remain enrolled for the remainder of the 19-20 school year only, and that tuition be waived.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Are there any questions? Hearing none, we ask that you please cast your vote. That motion passes. Item 4D.
I move that we approve forwarding of a formal complaint to the South Carolina Department of Education related to a contract teacher.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Are there any questions? Hearing none, we ask that you please cast your vote. That motion passes. Item 4E.
Move to approve the forwarding of a formal complaint to the South Carolina Department of Education related to a contract teacher.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Are there any questions? Hearing none, we ask that you please cast your vote. Motion passes. Item 4F.
I move that we uphold the constituent board's decision and place the student remain at Daniel Jenkins Academy on board probation for the remainder of the school year. Student will remain in Daniel Jenkins until successful completion of the program.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Are there any questions?
So we kind of cleaned up that language a little bit. They're there till the successful completion of the program. We don't have to say they're there for the remainder of the year.
Oh, that's true. So, all right, so I'll make the motion that placement of the student at Daniel Jenkins until successful completion of the program.
Second.
I'm going to second that.
Okay, it's been properly moved and second. Are there any questions? Hearing none, we ask that you please cast your vote. That item passes. Item 4G.
Motion is in lieu of Turning Point Academy, place the student at Daniel Jenkins Academy until successful completion of the program.
Second.
We're moving second. Are there any questions? Hearing none, we ask that you please cast your vote. Passes. Item 4H.
Uphold the constituent board, I move that we uphold the constituent board's decision and the student be placed at Daniel Jenkins Academy until successful completion of the program.
Second.
Properly moving second. Are there any questions? Hearing none, we ask that you please cast your vote. Motion passes. Item 4I.
I move that we modify the existing facilities use agreement with PACE to include CCSD leasing 4 special needs buses to PACE.
Second.
Properly moving second. Are there any questions? Hearing none, we ask that you please cast your vote. Motion passes. Item 5A, special recognition.
Good evening, Chair Mack, Vice Chair Darby, board members, Dr. Postlewaite, special guests, friends, and our honorees here this evening. We have 7 special recognitions this evening. Our first, I'd like to ask Dr. Eppelsheimer to come forward, along with the Wando High School band representatives. This special recognition is actually for our band director, Dr. Bobby Lambert. He's not here this evening. He has an ill family member, so we ask that you keep him and his family in your thoughts and prayers. But Mr. Lambert has been the director of bands at Wando High School, where he served for 6 years. He led the marching and concert bands to several victories on both the state and national level, and he was most recently awarded the 2019 Cultural Arts and Pride Arts and Humanities Award for his notable contributions towards arts in the town of Mount Pleasant. He provides musical performances for various celebrations and events in the town and helps students excel in music. Now, I'd like for you to stand right there because the next recognition is for the Wando Band as well. Recently, Wando's marching band won the 2019 South Carolina 5A State Marching Band Competition. No strangers to receiving both state and national recognition, they proved their elite performance ability year after year. They are the only South Carolina band to be ranked in the top 20 in the nation by Horn Rank. To add to their accomplishments, they recently received the National Band Association Programs of Excellence Blue Ribbon Award. Congratulations to the entire Wando Band, Mr. Bobby Lambert, Dr. Sherry Eppelsheimer, and all the band directors, parents, and all who support you. Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Eppelsheimer, you can stay right there. We'd now like to ask representatives from Wando's swim team to come forward. In the fall, these student athletes swam their way to success and earned the top spot in the state for their class by receiving the 3rd straight state title. In the 5A championship meet, they beat runner-up Spartanburg by 133 points. Individually, Estelle Bauer, She's not here. She won the 500-yard freestyle state championship. Join me in congratulating Estelle, her friends, in the 2019-2020 Class 5A state champions Wando girls swim team. Congratulations. Thank you. Now we'd like to recognize Grace Hill, Evelyn Howe, J.R. Wilson, and Brady Zingarella. With a full course of advanced courses, after-school jobs, and other extracurricular activities, these students still found the opportunity to volunteer some free time in their community. They were recently named the 2019 Youth Volunteers of the Year, thanks to the West Ashley Optimist Club for shining a light on their selfless acts of volunteerism. Grace Hill, a student at Academic Magnet, has been volunteering at MUSC since the summer of 2017. She's volunteered over 500 service hours. Grace not only volunteers at MUSC, but also at a church and an art camp teaching children ages 3 to 9. Recently, she started serving with the Comfort Meal program for the Children's Hospital, where she and a group of her peers are now serving meals to help our families so that they don't have to pay for every single meal while they're at the hospital. Congratulations, Grace. Evelyn House is a student at the School of the Arts and has volunteered at Roper Hospital for the past year in the transport department and has completed the Scrubs mentoring program. She has over 100 hours with Roper, helping to discharge patients and shadow nurses, aides, doctors, and support staff throughout the hospital. Congratulations, Evelyn. J.R. Wilson, a C.E. Williams Middle School student, is the only middle schooler to receive this award. He's volunteered over 300 hours at St. Andrews Parks and Recreation in the city of Charleston. Each week, he would help younger students with fostering positive relationship skills, team building, tutoring, implementing new activities, managing the camp store, and helping to keep counselors organized for individual and group activities. Congratulations, J.R. And Brady Zingarella, a student at Wando, is just under a year, he's already volunteered over 150 hours. He assists staff, patients, and visitors in MUSC's Health Medical Intensive Care Unit. The hospital has received numerous complaints from various MICU staff members because of Brady's personality, including the unit's nurse manager, who acknowledges how great Brady is in his role. They all love the way he energizes every visitor, and they appreciate the way he takes the initiative to get things done in a very helpful way. Congratulations, Brady. In total, these students have volunteered over 700 hours in just a matter of months. Not only do we thank them for their service, but we congratulate them on this honor. Well deserved. I now would like to ask Alicia Kirkinis, Jennifer Coker, and Lisa Allison to please come forward. Project Prevent is a grant that will allow our district to do even more for children who've experienced trauma. The funding will pay for more mental health counselors. It will pay for teachers and school staff to be trained to identify and address trauma. It will pay for families to receive wraparound services. Only 15 districts across the U.S. were awarded this competitive grant. CCSD is the only district in South Carolina to receive it, and we are proud to say we will receive $1 million to use to support our students and their families. We want to thank our staff members for all of their support. We appreciate you. I'd like to ask Jeff Barowie to come forward to present this next recognition.
Good evening. CCSD was the only, I say only, not just South Carolina, only in the whole country, K-12 school district to receive an honor award from the Professional Grounds Management Society in their 2019 Green Star Awards competition. The award was given in the athletic fields category for exceptional grounds maintenance, with West Ashley High School being the focus of the award submission. Accepting the award on behalf of our team are Ron Cromps, Dennis Burgess, Mike Johnson, and Mike Dillinger. Congratulations to our Facility Management Department and Plant Operations Division on receiving this high honor. Hoorah. All right, I'll get back to work.
Get back to
Another special recognition, I'd like to ask Board Member Cindy Boncoats to please come forward. Ms. Coates, congratulations on achieving 10 years of school board service for Charleston County School District. On behalf of the officers and staff of the South Carolina School Boards Association, we thank you. You've played a critical role in guiding your district and have invested countless hours to improve public education. The South Carolina School Boards Association is happy to be a part of this recognition by providing you with a lapel pin to proudly wear at school board functions, as well as a certificate. Your name and years of service will also appear in the 2020 annual convention program. What an accomplishment. The School Boards Association is proud of you, and the Charleston County School District Board of Trustees is proud of you as well. Thank you for all that you do. Wait a minute. Thank you. Don't. You all stay. We have one very special recognition. Last but certainly not the least, Governor Henry McMaster has declared January 2020 School Board Recognition Month in South Carolina. The theme for this year is School Board Strong, highlighting the unique role school boards play in championing and advocating for quality education and the ownership they take for governing their local public schools. As the elected representatives of the people in our local community, you represent the voice and vision for public schools. Here in Charleston, we sincerely appreciate your dedication and your commitment to the students and staff, and we thank you for your tireless service. Please accept a small token, which is at your seat, of appreciation. Thank you for all that you do. I'd like everyone to join me in giving them a round of applause. Mr. Chair, that concludes special recognition.
Okay, at this time now, we'll have public comments. Ms. Darby?
Okay. We only have about 15 people today, so I'm going to call 2 or 3 names at a time, and y'all can line up or not, whatever. We just want everybody to be able to have their time. First, we have Francis Baylott, and then Jessica Muse, and then after that, David Bell.
So today we have another proposal in front of you for West Ashley Middle Schools. I don't know enough about it to either say I'm for or against it. What I am concerned about is the continuous plans that are put out into the community without research support or community engagement in developing the process. In 2014, St. Andrews Middle School and West Ashley Middle School, they were combined and similar promises were made and they were not kept. This is why we don't trust you and why we need more information before we can engage and support the plans that you're making. So you can't be happy with how this is going. You can't be proud of this. I don't know what you're doing, and maybe you're doing something that's going to be great, but has anybody seen that? Am I missing it? Please tell me I'm wrong. I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong so bad. I want you to show me how your plans are going to get us from A to B to C and under what time frame. But just these abstract promises and these random plans thrown at the wall with equity tacked behind it are just not working. We have to do better. I want to get behind what you're doing. I really, really do. But you're failing miserably at getting public support for this. Why? Why can't you do that? I really, really want to help you. I really do.
Thank you. Next is Jessica Muse, then David Bell, and then Cheryl Cromwell.
Hi, I am not here to talk about anything that's currently on your agenda. I'm here to talk about the lack of safety measures we have in place in Charleston County schools. My son goes to Hot
Muse,
Gap Middle.
Speak a little bit closer to the microphone. Just want to make sure everybody.
There we go.
Sorry,
There
I'm
you go.
short.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
My son goes to Hot Gap Middle, and these past few weeks have been very eye-opening. As of now, our only deterrent is that the children are policing themselves. If you see something, say something. This system is flawed. How can we expect our kids to protect themselves when the child that does speak up is ostracized by the students for being the one that brings this to the teacher's attention? In 2017-2018 school year, West Ashley Middle School had a child bring 2 handguns to school. No policy was put into place. In 2018-2019 school year, Camp Road Middle had a child bring a knife and fought another school with it, or fought another student with it. No policy was put into place. Currently this year, we know that the child that brought the handgun to Hot Gap had 2 magazines in his book bag. And CCSD's response to this was to change the protocol from code red to lockdown. How is that going to deter anybody from bringing in weapons into our schools? That, in my opinion, is the wrong response. That does nothing to stop anyone, let alone a child, from bringing in a weapon. I'd like to see metal detectors be placed in all schools, not just middle schools. I'd like to see clear book bags and immediately have CCSD security organization organize random searches in the middle schools. It's my understanding that they only do that now with high school students. Clearly, this needs to be done in middle schools. We know that any system can be undermined, but the more systems we have in place, the better protection we give our children. Times are not like they used to be whenever we were in school. Drugs, violence, and sex are glorified, and human life is not respected, whether it be mental illness, a case of bullying, or just no common sense. You, as a board, need to protect our children from these types of incidents.
Ms. Muse, can you, this is an important issue, but can you wrap it up? Please?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yep, sorry.
Just to end, we've been lucky so far, but I think you guys need to immediately put protocols into place before one of our children becomes a casualty. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is David Bell, then Cheryl Cromwell, and then Rodney Lewis.
Hello, my name is David Bell. I'm District 10 Constituent Board member. I'm the Secretary of District 10 Constituent Board. Back in May of 2019, we had a community engagement session with the residents of West Ashley at the West Ashley High School, and overwhelming support at that time was against combining the middle schools into a single middle school for the entire area of West Ashley. I read in the email I received that was saying that this was coming on the agenda tonight. It said that it accomplishes our goals that we set forth back in October when we decided to do, came forward with a 6th grade academy and a 7th and 8th grade at C.E. Williams. It absolutely goes against our desires as a District 10 board. Our desires were not to put children in trailers until when? When are the trailers going to go away? We don't know. It overcrowds with no real solution in progress or in process to alleviate the overcrowding. There's no community engagement or community involvement. I mean, we suffered as a board enough backlash with our plan because we didn't get out there and talk to the community enough, and we didn't share enough with the community like we should have. And this plan comes out of nowhere, middle of last week. There's a lot of talk about the tax referendum coming up for the sales tax in 2020. How do you know that the voters are going to vote to approve the sales tax when we're building $14 million stadiums in West Ashley? Or sorry, in Mount Pleasant and North Charleston, when we could be building new schools in West Ashley. Our intentions was to have them on separate campuses due to the maturity level of a 11-year-old 6th grader versus a 14-year-old or 15-year-old 8th grader. It also compounds an existing traffic issue that nobody's really discussed, because when we moved the new C.E. Williams next to West Ashley High School, there's been no improvements to the roads whatsoever. We're just going to throw another 1,200 kids right there on Glen McConnell. And as a D10 constituent board member, we should be working with the Board of Trustees on these issues and not finding out about them via email a week ago. It also stinks largely of an Orange Grove passing West Ashley Middle School over to Orange Grove without any community involvement, when we could use West Ashley Middle School as a campus for the foreseeable future. Thank you. Oh, and my colleagues, Mr. Lewis and Ms. Osteen, also agree with me, and we strongly oppose this merger. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Cheryl Cromwell, then Rodney Lewis, then Leonard Davis.
Good evening. I'm here today just to really give you some words of encouragement. I know right now that you guys are receiving a lot of backlash for a lot of the decisions that you've made thus far. I understand that there could be more transparency, could be more communication, yes. However, the courage that you guys are taking to make the steps to make changes for all of the children within the district, we stand behind you in making those decisions. So please know that moving forward, sometimes when you take a stance that's unfamiliar or unpopular, it's very hard. Sometimes you end up standing alone, but you have to stand strong and know and be true to yourself and the kids within the district. So please, just remember that we are behind you, and please move forward with any plans to help improve the schools for all children within Charleston County School District. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Mr. Lewis, then Leonard Davis, and then Skylar Stewart Clark.
Good evening. I'm going to be real brief. I ask that tonight, when you take a vote on what happens with the middle schools in West Ashley, you consider the plan that we brought forth to the board previously. There was a lot of thought that went into it. We were really thinking about our children in that district. For us to revert back to one middle school, we didn't build a building for one middle school. If that was a true plan, we would have built a bigger middle school. For us to go to that plan and put trailers on that campus, it doesn't do our children any justice. What we want to see is you vote your conscience knowing that our children are getting the best that they can get in District 10. And the next time you vote, I ask, please, before you vote, visit the schools you're voting either against or for. If you know the principals, if you know the staff, and you know the children that are in that building, you can make a better educated vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger.
Thank you. Next is Leonard Davis, then Skylar Stewart Clark, and then Kelly Lloyd.
Good afternoon. My name is Leonard Davis, and I'm a member of the Charleston Area Justice Ministry and a taxpaying citizen of the county. In 2018, I had the privilege of participating in the Charleston County School District's Believe Empowerment Transformation event that happened the event that highlighted the important work happening through restorative practices in our school district. We met at the Northwoods Middle School and heard that principal share about the incredible impact that restorative practices was having on student behavior and how she expected to improve teacher retention now that she had a more meaningful way to address student misbehavior. During the district's event, my wife and I got to participate in many restorative practices circles where we learned about the diverse group of people in the room and began building relationships. We participated in a problem-solving circle where a parent stated a problem she was having with her child. We then took turns sitting across from her and sharing with her what we would have done had we had a similar problem. It was easy to see how relationships would be strengthened if these types of circles were used in classrooms. We all know that relationships are easier to repair when there is a relationship there to begin with. And we all know that we all try very hard not to harm those we care about. Restorative practices grow each person's circle of whom we care about. After participating in this event, I was convinced that we need these practices district-wide at all levels, between administration and staff and students, and even the school board. Restorative practices would greatly benefit all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Skylar Stewart Clark, then Kelly Lloyd, and then Liz Whitworth.
Good evening. I'm a parent and a member of the District 10 Task Force, and I just wanted to speak a little bit about some of my thoughts. At the ground level, it cannot be argued that phenomenal things are happening in District 10. However, we are at a critical point in the history of the district when it can certainly also be agreed that some change is needed. No doubt that diversity and inclusion fall under that purview. In fact, in the district's strategic plan, the need for change is highlighted across each of those 40 pages. I can say that as a parent of 4, including 2 District 10 middle schoolers, who have phenomenal teachers, administrators, and support staff, and as a task force member, it's difficult for me at this time to understand how our students are at the heart of what you are doing. As parents, we delegate our trust to you as board members in this process, but as many others have commented, our trust has dwindled. I do believe that there is still time to show that students are at the heart of your work and that this is your guiding principle. We once again ask that you engage with the community and have open and honest discussions prior to making recommendations, which indeed is in line with your strategic plan. The task force and many other District 10 community members have phenomenal ideas for engaging community at all levels and truly making a change. If you champion diversity and inclusion, like you say you do, let's model to the community what that looks like. The community needs to be given a seat at the table, and if not, when decisions are made behind closed doors, everybody loses. The survey results that you all have in front of you show that 77% of District 10 parents are considering other options for their students because they simply don't know what's happening. Overwhelmingly, parents will state that they have knowledge that there are plans ongoing, but don't understand what those plans mean. There are a litany of valid concerns and qualitative feedback that need to be considered. You see, in the words of Simon Sinek, you lose your way when you lose your why. There is still time to show us that children are the heart of your work.
Thank you. Next is Kelly Lloyd, then Liz Whitworth, then Reagan DeBose Morris.
Good evening. My name is Kelly Lloyd, and I am the mom to twin girls in 6th grade at Hot Gap. I fully support the administration and the teachers at Hot Gap, and the following comments are not in any way a reflection on them or their response to the incident of a handgun and bullets being found at the school on January 15th. However, I believe CCSD protocol and response to this situation is entirely inadequate. Other than a call out on the afternoon of the 15th indicating that a weapon had been found, families received no additional information on the nature of the incident or the type of the weapon. All our information came from television and print news. This lack of transparency led to rumors and misinformation being circulated. A video was shown to the students 3 school days after the gun was found, but this was a school-produced video and included no follow-up discussion with the students. This is unacceptable. The reactions on the part of the student who reported the gun and the teacher and vice principal who dealt with it are to be commended. However, these are indeed reactive responses. It is now time to be proactive at Hot Gap and at all CCSD middle schools. We need to know what you are doing to keep students and teachers safe. Better communication, recurring training utilizing evidence-based training methods, perhaps even random locker checks. Something must be done differently to be proactive in creating an environment to greatly reduce the likelihood that an incident like this will happen again. Being reactive is no longer good enough. 1 gun and 16 bullets in this middle school changed that. We are counting on you to keep our kids safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Liz Whitworth, then Reagan DeBose Morris, then Jonathan Thrower.
Move it to short people height. Hi, I'm here to discuss the District 10 merger. I say discuss, but I really can't do that because I don't know what's happening. I don't know which plan to discuss. I don't know what to think. And that's really hard. It's really frustrating. I don't know where my child will be in school next year, and that's not okay at this point in the game. If you want people to go to their home schools and not attend magnet schools and not do that sort of thing, then we need to know what's going on. We need to be able to buy in. I have a son with an IEP. I've heard no mention of special needs anywhere in any of these plans. It may be being discussed. We don't know. It seems like a campus with 1,200 students is going to be lacking in a lot of things like that, like special needs. There's going to be 1 sports team for all those kids. There's going to be 1 art teacher for all those kids, as far as we know. The award that you all just got said that you represent the voice and vision for public schools. I don't know how you're representing the parents when you don't talk to them. We feel completely left out. I'm a very active parent at all of my children's schools. I feel like the fact that I don't know speaks volumes for the parents that aren't able to be as involved. If we're going to give the building to Orange Grove at West Ashley, we need to know that. That needs to be fed into part of the decision. I'm not saying we have to vote on every single thing. You've been chosen to vote on these things, but you should take our opinions into consideration. We just don't feel like our kids' interests are at heart, and that's hard. I love my kids' school right now. They're at Ashley River Creative Arts. My son is. My daughter is at James Island. It's hard for me to let the 5th grader know what's going on in his world. He's old enough. He's asking me questions, and I don't know what to tell him. And that's hard for him. That's making this transition that we were concerned about for them harder. And that's just, I don't understand why it has to be that way.
Thank you. And hold on, Jonathan. Reagan DeBose Morris is next, and then Jonathan, and then Elvin Spites.
So thank you. Many of you know I'm also one of the members of the D10 task force, and a lot of work has gone in the last 6 weeks in terms of thinking through some of these issues with the community. I think that that's one of the positives that's come out of this has actually been conversations among the community about how best to improve the situation, not in August, but today or yesterday or back in December. Really looking at what are we looking at with a full deck of options for West Ashley. We're not just talking about middle school. We're really talking about the entire system from elementary, from pre-K all the way up. And what the community is asking for really is that conversation, which the D10 board will admit did not happen. And unfortunately, that set into motion activities that have led us to this point. But I think that before we can go forward and really have success in West Ashley has to have buy-in for that. West Ashley has to have a seat at the table and know what's going on, but also time. All the other areas in our district have been given years to plan for mergers or for different programming coming in. And we've been given months, and that's really a disservice to a community in which you're really identifying as having significant needs and significant opportunity to improve. So let us do the work. Let us as a community work together, put all those great minds in a room, bring in all the staff from CCSD who has the expertise that is needed to make this work, take it back to the community and get their feedback, because they're the ones who are going to have to get their kids to school every day. Get the teachers' feedback, because they're the ones who are actually frontline on every day in those classrooms making it work. And if we don't have the opportunity to understand how our buildings are going to be used, are we going to be using West Ashley Middle School for Orange Grove in another year? What are we asking our taxpayers to fund in terms of a building campaign in just a few short months? Really, what do we want as a community? I think you've brought us together, and please give us that chance to come back to you with additional ideas that you can help us implement.
Thank you. Next is Jonathan Thrower and then Elvin Spite.
Good evening, everybody. Jonathan Thrower. So one of the things that I really had on my mind was diversity. Now, we have had so many conversations and studies and things talking about diversity and the need for it. So I'm really trying to understand from some certain board members, Kevin, Chris, why is it that we would be against certain changes when we understand that it has the ability to add diversity in a district to where we have put so much emphasis in, black schools underperforming, white schools performing or over-excelling. Let's look at academic magnet. I have never, ever seen in all my fight in the district a group of individuals say, you know what, we're going to come to the table and actually do something to allow more black children, qualified, now let's get that straight, more qualified black children to enter into academic magnet. Why is there a vote against that? Why is there hesitancy? If this is something that we know our children can benefit from, I don't understand logically why there should be so much pushback. And the thing is, provide solutions, right? Because if it's something that you really don't like, provide an alternative. And an alternative is not just speaking somebody's racist or doing interviews talking about somebody's the head of the Klan and slandering. That's not going to do us anything. Let's talk about something tangible, something that you can bring to the table that is going to allow us to really look at and assess what can be an alternate route instead of just going on these interviews and calling people names and then not providing a solution afterwards. So that's just something that I want y'all to consider bringing to the table versus just coming out with these slander attacks. We need something tangible, we need something intelligent, and we need something that the people can actually look at, engage, whether or not this can be progress. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Spites?
How y'all doing? So I'm going to follow up on what my brother said. The top schools in Charleston County are majority white schools, right? Even though these majority white schools are in black neighborhoods, they're still in our neighborhoods and our kids can't get in. So I definitely love that y'all have made the way for our children to get in. But what's so funny to me is this, right? And I should probably turn to the crowd, because for those who, I hear them say, we need more time, we need more research. For 20 years, we knew black kids were getting undereducated. For 20 years, we knew black kids wasn't getting a proper education. But you ain't worried about that research. You want to know about research to make sure the 6th grade education is going to work. So you have no problem with the kids that look like me getting another uneducated year. Because what happens now? We go back to the table. The kids from West Ashley Middle School go back to West Ashley Middle. They don't get the STEM program that's going to be the new CE. They don't get the, They don't get the tech programs. They don't get all those things that's going to be the new CE. They just get to go back to West Ashley Middle. And once again, they'll be behind. But we ain't worried about none of that because we don't got the research to see it's going to work. That's the problem I have with this. Forget all that. I hate the trailer idea too. I don't really want the kids in trailer. But if that's what we got to do to appease them, just so kids that look like me can get a good education, then let's do it. I don't care either. I don't care for it. But this is ridiculous. And I'm not upset with y'all at all. I commend exactly what y'all are doing. But this is crazy. To see these people behind me, all they want is research, research, research. No one's talking about the research that's been done 20 years of black children being left behind. I had a poster that I was going to open up, but I was told I couldn't bring it. I wanted to show. I brought the posters for those who don't believe me. We got plenty of research showing that black kids have been given an unequal education for 20 years. But you don't want to talk about that. We need more community talk to see if there's going to be a 6th grade education. All of this is basically like this. Our kids going to your school ain't going to kill you. That's it. Black kids going to your school is not the end of the world. We're not going to kill you.
Thank you. That's the end of public comment.
Thank you. At this time now, we'll have our superintendent's report.
Thank you. Y'all have asked me to be brief. What I attempted to do with the communication team's help is to place on one page, which board members have in your packets and that under your name plate, on one page, a summary of what it is that the board was hoping to accomplish so that more children in Charleston County schools would leave our schools ready to take advantage of what society has to offer, to get living wage jobs, to go on to college, and to support their families. What do we need to do to break cycles of poverty? Because the audience doesn't have that in front of them, I put this one page onto a few PowerPoint slides. So basically, there are 4 levers here that we have concentrated on for the past 2 years. Building a strong foundation, making sure that our students start school ready to learn, making sure that whatever has to happen happens so that we can accelerate the achievement of those who are left behind. You recall that we had an expert from one of our testing associations come and talk with us about the fact that it takes 1.2 years of growth per year over 5 years to catch up a student 1 year. So the whole idea of accelerated schools is to make sure that this district is the best at getting better. We may not be the top performing district in the state when you look at our average test scores, but by golly, there's no reason why we cannot be the best at improving student achievement. We want equitable access to programs of excellence, and that means programs in our choice schools as well as quality choices in our neighborhood schools. So the 4 levers that we talked about are summarized there. And then the sheet that you have in front of you simply takes each one of those, lists a couple of actions that the board took. For example, under Strong Foundation Ready to Learn, this board revamped early childhood programs in all of our preschools and primary grades, or at least you took action to do that, so that more of our students begin 1st grade ready. And then we started with the process of creating family engagement and early childhood centers. We've started that process with Mary Ford. Hopefully we'll be able to continue it as we've outlined in the highest needs areas of the district. So the goal that's related to that specific strategy is that more children begin school ready to learn, they stay on grade level as they move through school, and they exit so that they can get living wage jobs or pursue whatever dreams they aspire to. The second strategy is about the one around accelerated improvement, and we've identified the 15 schools where support has not produced the results we've wanted, even though various people have tried over the years, and we've created a strategy we think will work for those schools. We pulled back from the solicitation for interest because that strategy did not work for us as we'd hoped this year, and we now are thinking of those schools as if they're part of an intensive care unit in a hospital. We have managed to attract some really interesting partners to work with us. The University of Virginia team is here this week, and they're going to help us learn how to better attract and retain leaders who invite, include, and inspire at the school level. The goal there, of course, is to break a seemingly endless pattern of low performance. And then, as has been mentioned already this evening, the board's done a lot of work toward equitable access. They've set aside some priority seating in schools for children who are coming from schools with 80% plus poverty who meet the entrance criteria. You've expanded gifted services, ensuring that at least 5% of the children in every school are included in the gifted program. And then we'll continue our efforts to make sure that every child has a talented teacher with all the resources necessary for success. And then finally, the last lever is quality choices and improving neighborhood schools. This is the one that has been mentioned most this evening. In that list is included the District 10 middle school merger. We know that that needs to happen. We had a plan on the floor from the District 10 constituent board. And then the board is, based on some feedback regarding concerns with that plan, considering a different option tonight. But the ultimate goal is for all children to receive quality opportunities, the kinds of supports they need, access to the best that we have, so that more of our children every single year exit our school system with choices that they would not have had they not been with us. And we will know whether the work we have done is right or wrong when we look at the percentage of students who are exiting our schools, college, and career ready. So these are really important changes and adjustments we have to make. They are hard, they're controversial, they take a lot of work, they're messy, and we're not able yet to provide as many details as people want. We pledge to involve the communities just as quickly as we get direction from the board about which of the more specific options that you're going to consider tonight. But the work that you approved in December is well on its way through implementation processes and plans. I'd like to again thank the staff who are here tonight and others at the school level who've been hard at work, as well as the many parents, students, and community members who have been supportive. So the end of my report is simply to say we've tried to take all the different lists and messiness and recommendations over the past few months and reduce them to one page that is not exactly yet the elevator speech, but it certainly can be explained to anyone in 10 minutes. So thank you to the communications staff for doing that. Thank you.
Okay, are there any questions for the superintendent?
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Okay.
So I'm still confused, and I know a lot of people are, about abused. I know that the children who are entering the third grade coming out of Memminger, if they are enrolled in Memminger, they will get priority access into Buist, meeting the standard. Is that correct?
We have teams of people who have been working on that, and they sent out emails. They prepared fast facts today. Michelle Simmons, Ms. Simmons, do you want to speak to that?
That is exactly what the motion says, so I don't know that we need a whole lot of fact-finding of that when we could just read the motion.
So if you already know the motion, maybe you could read it back to us.
That it does say that all the middle school students, but the question is, how many second graders, what's the capacity at Memminger? And with a max capacity of 100 kids at Buist, are the remaining seats, there, if I look at this is the question we need interpreted. There's no priority for the remaining third grade seats at Buist, is that correct?
Not at this point, but as you'll recall, we were supposed to bring back the recommendations for third grade interest by this summer.
But that's entrance. I'm talking about the fact that if you're in Memminger and you meet the standard, and if you're in West Ashley Middle School or elementary school and you meet the standard, the Memminger kid gets the seat first. But for any seats that are remaining, are there any priorities for any of the District 20 schools, or is it those seats will be are opened into an enrollment for choice application across the county?
So first, we haven't even established what that new criteria will be. We've said that by the summer of 2020, we will come back to the board with what that profile, what that metric looks like. And so what we have said is, if you're a student at Memminger and you choose at the end of third grade to either stay at the Memminger program or apply at Buste Academy, if you meet criteria, you would be eligible to matriculate to Buste. We have not yet defined what that looks like as of yet, because our first priority has been the expansion classes and making sure that we prioritize schools who are at the 80% index or higher poverty and performing at the 75th percentile in both reading and math. So at present, Ms. Roberts and I were at Memminger on Friday with a small group working through implementation, and at Buste Academy this morning working through implementation. And for the first layer, our first priority has been at Buste Academy, the outreach effort to make sure that families understand that Buste Academy will have expansion classes at grades 3 through 6. And then again at Memminger, the first layer of priority has been establishing what the kindergarten entrance will look like as we build out this K through 5 advanced academic component. And so to answer your question, we have not yet succinctly said, once you're a second grader at Memminger and that new incoming class of Buste is ready to accept new students, what that criteria is just yet.
Thank you. But I didn't ask, I understand the criteria. I'm asking about numbers of desks and numbers of children. I'm asking if the Memminger kids have a priority and get seats before you accept and evaluate applications from students who are not coming from Memminger.
Yes, for the incoming kindergarten class.
No, I'm talking about second grade to third grade into Buste.
The Memminger.
So when
students, she's asking from.
so is there a priority for Memminger students to get priority seating at Buste in the third grade? Or Memminger, North Charleston Elementary School, West Ashley Elementary School, Mount Pleasant Academy, do they all go into the same pool and there is no priority based on any percentile, geography, or poverty for students entering the third grade at Buste?
Can I read what the minutes say? The minutes, is that okay, Reverend Mack?
Yes.
The minutes say for Buste Academy, I won't go through all the bullets, but the bullets that pertain to your question, expand grades 3, 4, 5, 6 by one class per grade in 2020-21. For 2020-21 only, give priority to students scoring at the 75th percentile or higher on MAP, reading, and math who are zoned for an elementary school in Charleston County with a poverty index equal to or greater than 80%. So that's for just next year. Then develop prior to the start of the 2020-21 school year new admission criteria for third graders and keeping the current level of academic standards and is the same for all elementary school students. The next bullet is entrance criteria will come back to the board.
So back up and I think that's where I'm getting confused. Now back up and read the Memminger thing.
Right, yeah, because they're connected.
Because they're connected,
right.
and that's where you're going to find out that before you even
It
get to
does
the
say
Memminger.
detail, yeah, you're right. It does say for Memminger, Memminger will serve as a countywide IB program with a K-5 advanced academic component. Additional kindergarten students will phase in effective 2020-21. The attendance zone will remain in place unless future revisions are made by the constituent board. Magnet eligibility will be based on kindergarten readiness assessments with students who score ready, eligible for admission. Class representation will be as follows for Memminger. D20 students receive seating priority. Allocate half of the remaining seats to eligible students zoned for schools with a poverty index of 80% or higher and half to eligible students zoned for Charleston County constituent districts other than D20. Students will matriculate to Buste automatically if they meet eligibility criteria, which will be established by the start of the 2020 school year. The board will review countywide academic magnet data and entrance criteria annually in order to ensure changes are producing results consistent with board goals of academic quality and fair representation of student populations. So the sentence,
I guess, so and when we talk about the equitable access, and I am very happy for some of the things that we've done, we also have a 2017 document from the district that says the capacity of Memminger is between 450 and 550 based on how you configure the classrooms. So what I'm hearing is that there could well be very, very, very few seats outside of D20 that even are open for other students, because the capacity and the numbers of the students at Memminger is equal to or more than the number of slots in the third grade at Buste. And I think that that's something I struggle with, and the remaining students get half of the remaining seats, which is a non-specific number, which I don't know how you're going to determine that until you close the choice application process and the enrollment process. So now we get back to my question. What we've done has not provided more opportunity for under-resourced students outside of downtown Peninsula Charleston. When does that happen?
So I will answer this, and then I know that it's not on the agenda tonight, and it's more a work session topic if the board wants to revisit it. But we need to figure that the specific question that you're asking about second graders matriculating into Buste won't happen this coming year, and it won't happen the next year, but it will happen the following fall. And so that's why on the recommendations, the requirement that the board revisit this every single year in light of your objectives is there. So when we come to this summer with the third grade entrance criteria, that's the beginning piece. When we see what the interest is in how many kindergarten classes we create at Memminger, what the capacity is, that's the second piece. And then the board will have an opportunity once a year to take a hard look at this and make some decisions. Some people have speculated that a lot of folks who haven't been going to Memminger will begin going to Memminger. If they do that, Memminger could lose its 80% poverty status. So one of the things that's happened since the decision was made a few years ago to change the quota system at Buste was that we kept saying, just in the time I've been here, we've said we're going to take a look at that, and then every year that deadline crept up and we didn't. So this will require starting somewhere and revisiting it every single year to see if it's having the impact of the stated goal of creating diverse schools without diminishing the quality of the offerings.
Okay, Reverend Collins.
Well, Cindy hit on a lot of things that I had concerns with about this. I know we're not voting on it tonight, but that's why I sent the email out to attorneys this morning. What I oppose is that when we look at Memminger and Buste and we give priority to certain children, other kids, for example, in North Charleston, those kids are standing very little chance of getting in, if any, for James Allen and Mount Pleasant, because the District 20 kids overall will consume those seats. And even though it has the appearance of diversity and inclusion, it'd be virtually impossible because we don't identify the number of kids. And we're looking at percentage. We don't know what we're really looking at when it's time for those kids to come in. So look, I think we created really a disaster. We have good intentions, but from what I can see, it's not going to produce any results. We have to really consider it. And this is one of the largest motions I've seen since I've been on the school district, almost 12 years, a paragraph for each one. So you know that's going to be confusing to begin with, but that's basically where we are. So Susan's right on point.
You have a question?
Mr. Chair, just a
Yes.
point of order, this is not on our agenda
Right.
tonight.
You have a question, Reverend
Chair,
Collins?
to be clear, she's the one that brought the Bust conversation
understand,
onto
but-
the board of discussion.
Got it, Reverend Collins?
I'm good.
All right. All right, thank you, Dr. Postlewaite, for your report. At this time now, item 8A.
You're welcome.
Item 8A.
Reverend Mack,
Yes.
I'd like to put a motion on the floor for the board to consider, particularly in light of the conversation tonight. And it's a long motion.
Just talk
Okay.
slowly.
Turns out our motions are mostly becoming to-do list anyway.
Yeah, it sounds like a long motion. So the first part of the motion is going to be to support combining in these schools on one campus for the 2020-2021 school year. But the balance of the motion is to engage the public, the constituent board, and the volunteers that have shown up tonight, and the parents between now and June, and the district to come back with a long-term recommendation of how we're dealing with the middle school population in West Ashley. That may include a sixth grade academy. It may include another middle school, whatever that recommendation is, so that it can then be included on the referendum in August when we put it out for consideration. And I would even go further to say that when it goes on there, it would be included in the first wave of projects that were offered up.
Second.
Everyone understand the motion
Not
that
a
came
clue.
from?
So say,
Hang on, hold on, guys. Does everyone understand the motion that was made by Mr. Frazier?
No.
All right, Julie, do
So
you
Julie,
have?
can you read it for us?
Ms. Coates, can you allow me to chair this meeting, please? Thank you. Ms., do you have the motion? All right, Mr. Frazier, can you repeat your motion?
I'm going to
Yes.
read it slowly.
All right, Julie.
My motion is to approve the merger of the West Ashley Middle and C.E. Williams schools for all of the students to occupy on the new C.E. Williams campus for the 2021 school year. Staff is tasked to come back to the board with a long-term middle school plan for West Ashley with constituent board and other public input by the end of June for the board to vote on an alternative for inclusion in the first wave of the penny sales tax referendum, which must be identified by August.
Rich, do the second part of that. Here. Okay, got it.
I wrote it down because I can't remember it either. Mr. Chair, if I may,
Yes.
I didn't vote for this the first time because I didn't feel like we had fully vetted the sixth grade academy. I feel like this gives everybody the opportunity to get into the new school with the programming. The trailers are temporary regardless of where we end up, and we seek a permanent solution. My hope is that this gives West Ashley community time to get involved in the solution, and that when we vote on it in June or July, as the case may be, we've got everybody saying we got together on this and we support where we're headed. I'm not comfortable that we have figured that out yet. We must do something, and to me, I'm comfortable with where we're starting.
Mhm.
So that's enough.
I agree.
Mr. Chair?
Ms. Coates?
So, you know, I'm sorry. I don't know what else to say. I have tried to figure out how we got from last March to today, and while we're not allowed to talk about the fact that the most resourced community in our district now has expanded access to more magnet schools than any other area of our district, because we studied how to get under-resourced kids into those schools. 14 days ago, we sat here in a 4-hour board meeting with every single one of us here, and no one gave y'all any reason to believe that the work you were trying to do with the sixth grade academy was going to get pulled out from under you. And I apologize. I am sorry. I don't know what else to say. We have a group of individuals who vehemently did not want this merger to happen, but went to a table with Dr. Williams to say, what do best practices for sixth grade academies look like? We didn't like the decision. I know some of you in the audience, I'm looking at you. You didn't want this decision, you didn't like this decision, and you went to the table and said, Let's figure out how to make it work. And through no fault of your own, 4 days ago, you were told that wasn't what we wanted to do anymore. And I apologize. I would like to keep the current plan in place simply because it's the one you have been working on.
Ms. Coates, are you speaking to the
I'm
audience or are you
speaking
speaking to
to
the
them
board?
because they really need
Do you
to
have a
hear.
question? Or you have a
I
comment
was
to what
making
the
a motion
motion?
right before I was interrupted, sir.
Okay, well, there's already a motion on the floor.
Okay, and then you will go up the ladder and down the ladder per parliamentary
So
procedure.
go ahead and direct your question or that you
It
have
was a
to us.
motion that I would like to consider keeping the same system that we decided in December 16th, simply because there has been work done on that and community buy-in, and it is simply the other side of the coin of Mr. Frazier's motion. Let's put the sixth grade academy, and then let's make that decision on whether we're going to combine the schools afterwards. Why do we have to change this and include in a motion changing this that we may change it back?
Ms. Coates, is all that part of your motion?
That was my motion.
Okay, well, you're continuing, so I don't know where you stopped.
That we continue with the same proposal that we made on December 16th. And as y'all gave Mr. Frazier the latitude to explain it, I would like the same. And that is that my motion is simply the same motion as Mr. Frazier's by saying, don't make those changes now. Continue with what we promised the community we were going to do, and have the discussion on whether it needs to change on the 30th, as opposed to changing it now and having that discussion on the 30th.
Well, just to be clear, you received the same amount of time that Mr. Frazier did, but you addressed the audience instead of addressing the board as to what, you're clear to what your motion was. So for clarity, I had to ask you, what was your motion? Because you kept going on and on and on and on.
Thank
So,
you, I
for
stand
clarity.
corrected, sir.
All right, Mr. Hollenshed and Reverend Collins.
Question.
We don't have a second.
No, he just decided berating me would be a better response.
No. There was not a second. Yes.
There's no
Yes, sir.
second, so then it dies, that's fine.
Dr. Postowitz, is it Mr. Williams over elementary
Dr.
school?
Williams.
Dr. Williams?
Dr. Williams is over middle schools, yes, sir?
Middle school. Question.
What is your question?
Why can't the elementary schools in West Ashley absorb the sixth grade program in their current school? I'm just asking the question.
Mr. Hollenshed, direct your question to Dr. Postman. Go ahead.
Yes,
Go ahead.
that's what I'm asking.
So there are several reasons. The first problem would be a facilities challenge. That we would have to overcome on multiple campuses. And then the second challenge would be redistributing teachers. Sixth graders often start specializing. Although an elementary teacher can teach sixth grade, if you start specializing into different exploratory areas, one teacher cannot teach all those different all the electives that sixth graders often have access to if they're in a middle school. It can be done, but it would have to be a long-term decision that this board would make, and it would take an investment in facilities, and students in the end would not get the same opportunities.
So, and then my other question is, as I hear about this disparity in the West Ashley Middle School, why is it that we could not fund what shortfalls the children have at West Ashley Middle School currently now to help bridge that gap?
I don't think it was a question of not being able to fund. It was a question of the different the programs that are provided at two different schools. And if you look at the West Ashley attendance zone map, this is, the blue is the attendance zone for C.E. Williams, which is located clear over here outside of where the majority of people live. And all the rest of this map is zoned for West Ashley Middle School. And so when the constituent board started in 2016 to try to find a solution, they decided to wait until, the record that I reviewed with staff today seemed to say that they wanted to wait until closer to a decision about a new middle school. So
and I'm with you.
resources have been provided.
But I'm asking, I heard all these knee-jerk reactions of why West Ashley has not, the middle school has not been given the resource, and they're not adequate to C.E. Williams. Again, I ask the question again, why have, as board members, as staff, why have we not provided them with the resources they need to help close that achievement gap?
I think that we have provided resources, but the opportunities are still not equitable, and the
Why
students
not?
are not.
I'm asking why not?
The two programs are different. C.E. Williams is a magnet choice school that exists for a specific reason, and the main disparity has to do with the socioeconomic differences that exist between the two schools and all of the concomitant issues that go along with that. We could discuss that more fully if there's a motion on the board to do what you're
I'm
asking.
done, Reverend Mack, but my question is then, if that's the case, and we need more resources at that school to bring those children up to an achievement gap, then we should be doing that to bridge that gap. But you answered it. Thank you, ma'am.
Right, Reverend Collins?
So what type of magnet is C.E. Williams?
C.E. Williams is, we refer to it as C.E. Williams School for the Arts. It may be more complete than that. It's arts and science.
Is it a zone magnet or constituent? I mean, what is it? Countywide?
It's a partial magnet because the board made no changes to its structure yet.
And the number of students roughly?
Mr. Barowie, do you know the number of students at C.E. Williams? 600 something?
C.E. Williams is 652 and Williams is 607.
So about the same thing. So, and if you don't mind me asking, and what, by merging these two schools, what do we hope to accomplish over the next couple of years?
Why didn't you ask the black population? You didn't ask that question. You didn't ask how many black people.
If you can.
All students.
Yes.
So what do you hope to accomplish over the, I guess, what is the number one issue you're having now, and what do you hope to accomplish over the next 2 or 3 years by combining these schools? West Ashley?
You're looking at the map.
Mm-hmm.
You can see the inequitable distribution of children of the population in that attendance zone to start with. So just in terms of transportation of children to a central site, who has to, if you're born inside of C.E. Williams, you have to get on a bus and ride to West Ashley Middle School. So the map is gerrymandered in ways that are very difficult to understand. It's difficult to think about how to redistribute the students inside that district. And at the end of the day, if we look at the opportunities that are available in our middle schools that are 1,000 or 1,200 students, they are at least twice as many, twofold as abundant as the opportunities in smaller schools. In addition to that, there is a racial inequity between the two schools, and there's a socioeconomic inequity between the two schools. A lot of this is historical. You probably know the background a lot better than I. I've been here for
But I don't know these neighborhoods by this type of map. I don't know. I can't identify the neighborhoods by this map.
It's
Okay.
gerrymandered.
But diversity is what you after, richer equality.
Better quality, more opportunities for students to interact with one another and the neighborhoods to combine. And I think that any high school principal would say, if you can create a situation where you have more equitable and higher quality offerings, bringing middle schools together to build the esprit de corps in a community, that it long-term builds a better high school, a stronger high school.
Just one last question, Sir Bill. So if you were to combine the schools, what additional courses would be offered?
So I don't have that in front of me. That was in your packet, I believe, in October and again in November and possibly in December when the board voted on the merger to start with. So tonight's vote, the board's already voted on the merger.
Right.
Tonight's vote is just where to locate the children
In the
for
sixth
what
grade.
period of time who are in the 6th grade.
Okay, Ms. Darby?
Yeah, a couple of questions. I do support Mr. Frazier's motion for a number of reasons, but I do have a couple of questions. And a lot of this is based on the survey that we got from West Ashley parents, so I want to make sure we're communicating this. Dr. Postaway, I don't know if this is something you or Mr. Barowie should answer, but I think one thing is that people are concerned that if this vote passes, that the entire sixth grade will be in trailers on the new middle school campus that opens in the fall. Can you or somebody tell us about how many trailers, just to give us an idea? Are we talking 20 trailers and the whole sixth grade is going to be in trailers, or is it less than that? And just, I mean, I think I was told that elective courses would be in trailers, so, you know, kids aren't going to be taking English, math, science, or social studies in trailers, but I don't know that for sure.
So who would be in trailers has not been decided at this point.
Okay.
We have to take into account a number of things. When we roll both programs together, how many actual classrooms we need. We do know that the capacity of the new school is greater than what we thought it was going to be. We also know there's a chance that some of those kids in upper classes might be able to attend some classes at West Ashley High School. So we have to look at the high end of what might be within the art of the possible, and then look at what we can do within that classroom by combining the two. It would definitely not be an entire grade in trailers.
Okay.
The entire grade will not be in trailers.
Okay, and then.
Right. And I think our early estimates are 6, perhaps 8 trailers, or 8 or fewer, I think is.
Okay, so just 2 real quick comments from my experience of 25 years, is that in advocating for public schools, is that when we move into a larger school and we have middle schools that are more than 1,200, in fact, in parts of the county, you actually can end up with smaller class sizes. Your children have so many more opportunities, but I know we've got to get people comfortable with that. Also coming from an area of the community that had brand new schools and what I would call a really crappy old school that was falling apart, it just wasn't fair or equitable to do that. I wouldn't want to do that while I'm on the board, to make a choice to have some kids in a great new facility and some kids in an older facility. So I mean, I support this change. This motion, I think we need to get more community input. I think we need to make sure parents know, you know, what our plans are and you know, address these different questions. But I hope, thank you about the trailer question.
Okay, Ms. Green? Joyce, you have a question?
I was just going to follow up with something Jeff said, that the capacity the current capacity at C.E. Williams is it?
About 600.
C. Williams or the new C. Williams?
New C.
The new C. Williams is being built. It was touted as 900 students with a 1,200 person core, meaning you can add classrooms and have the large box spaces big enough. But in the calculations, as we sat down and looked at the number of classrooms we have, the capacity is greater than 900 in the new building.
That's what I was
It is greater, and my guess is it exceeds 1,000.
Okay.
Okay, Ms. Jeffries?
Thank you.
And we may have said this before, but when you have a larger school, you can offer more options to kids. And those of you in education, and especially in middle school education, you want a broad range of options for kids to try out, maybe music, art, or whatever they can't get in a smaller school. And there's nothing, and that's what we would be offering in the one bigger school. And I think that's worth what we're doing here.
Okay, Mr. Frazier?
I guess might be a question for Mr. Broy. We do have money from the current penny for advanced design for something in the West Ashley Middle Arena, correct?
We have a line item for an advanced design for another middle school. It's below the funding line right now, but there is funding in excess resources if the board was so desired to begin that design now. The vision was that next building would be in the next building program, Phase 5. In fact, the board voted in 2016 to put the next middle school in the next program. But if we expand the C.E. Williams campus, there's a chance that we could expand that campus within the current program.
I guess so. Point of my question is if the community comes together on a solution, whatever it may be, and to Ms. Coates' point, you may end up with a sixth grade academy again. I don't know what the answer is. This gives us time to get there and gives us some funding to evaluate what that might look like.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, Reverend Collins?
Dr. Postulated for, if you combine C.E. Williams, West Ashley Middle, you have one school over there. Will there be any other academic choices in West Ashley area Would there be any other options if a child don't want to go to that school? Where would they end up going?
There would not be other public school, middle school options in West Ashley other than Orange Grove Charter, which usually runs full.
Yeah, it's usually pretty full. So that does concern me somewhat, that wouldn't be any other options. And so sometimes, just almost disrespectful, sometimes when we combine schools like this, you instead of getting the results we want, but we get what we call a white flight. And we end up with the same thing when we started out with at a segregated school. So I'm hoping that's not what we're doing here. But sometimes we do that if the community is not properly embraced and have full input and have a part of it, where they have their security place, that we're just wasting time. So I hope we'll do a better job engaging the community.
Okay, board members, thank you for your input and your comments. And we've heard comments coming from the West Ashley community, and I believe Mr. Frazier has made a motion that has been seconded and has expounded on future options that are available. Mr. Barori has also indicated some items that may be on the current list, but on the underfunded list, but nevertheless, the board has the options of moving things around, so desire. So we will ask that as the D10 task force continue to engage, that as we move forward, not knowing which direction this vote will go into, but that we will have the options of having more dialogues and talks about future schools within West Ashley. So the question have been called. Julie, would you please post the motion? And I'm asking board members to please cast their vote.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the second reading of the magnet schools and programs policy.
Motion passes 6-1. Motion have been made for item 9A.
Second.
Probably moving second. Request that you please cast your vote.
Yeah.
That motion passes. Item 9B.
Move
Mr.
approval.
Chair,
Sorry.
Who made the motion?
Mr. Frazier,
Okay, who seconded?
I did.
Okay. Properly moving second. Any questions?
so
Hearing.
I guess my question would be is why does this have to read like a to-do list? Can we maybe tighten this up and make it a little more professional? I mean, it kind of goes back and forth from what starts out reading like a press release and then goes into like an absolute micromanaging to-do list of what the superintendent is to do on what day afterwards. And I think it's a great policy, and I think it's legally sound, but I just think that a 3-page policy that's got to-do list embedded in it and all of this stuff is a little bit too convoluted to say what we want to say, which is very succinctly that we need more than 45 days to process TIF requests. We respect that it is our role to thoroughly process them, and we are going to require 90 days, and we're going to ask for some reports to be generated. I would just ask the board if they really think that we need 3 pages to say that.
Okay, as you know, Ms. Coates, our general counsel have also reviewed this policy along with outside counsel, who has also said that this is legally sound.
Yeah, I said it was legally sound.
Yeah, yeah. It's now at the point of second reading. If the board does not want to take any other further action.
No, I mean, absolutely, the motion's on the table. You asked for discussion.
Yeah, all right. Is there any further questions or comments? Hearing none, we ask that you please cast your vote. Okay, that motion passes. Item 9C.
Move for approval. Reverend Collins?
Second.
Probably moving second. Are there any questions?
So what reading are we on?
Item 9C, motion has been passed and has been seconded. Are there any questions?
I asked a question.
It's second reading for the items that are in purple from, that, at our last meeting, we discussed this, and we suggested to Reverend Collins that he meet with staff and work on some comments and suggestions with Natalie can finish. Go ahead, Natalie, take over.
I'm sorry, Ms. Darby, this is actually first reading.
Thank you.
For the changes that Reverend Collins has proposed. We pulled the second reading off until we could combine them together.
Yes, I'm sorry, that's what I meant to say.
I'm sorry.
Okay, but
So
it's second
hang on.
reading.
What is the question on the floor? Because we're all over the place. What is the question?
If we vote yes tonight, does it mean children cannot have tattoos that are distracting on August of next year?
Okay, well, let's address that question.
No, it is first reading for this policy.
So the red is first reading as well?
No.
No.
So if we pass this, the stuff in red goes into effect, and the stuff in purple comes back at a later time?
You're only doing first reading on the purple.
Yeah, let me look at the mock-up and make sure I get my colors correct.
That's correct.
So the stuff in purple is going forward in first reading. The information in red has already been presented to you all for first reading and is ready to go for second reading, but that would have been confusing to bring first and second reading of the same policy. So we wanted to outline for you that you've already had first reading for the information in red, but tonight the only thing that you are considering is the purple for first reading. You will not consider second reading of this policy in any
Thank you.
in any of it.
Thank you. So if we vote yes tonight, we're adding the purple. And if we vote no tonight, we're proceeding with the red.
No.
If you vote yes tonight, then the purple will go forward along with the red for second reading at the next committee meeting. If you vote no tonight, then at the next committee meeting, you will get the red for second reading.
Thank you.
Is there any further questions?
Reverend Wright.
Yes.
I'd just like to thank Reverend Collins for bringing this up and getting involved in it, because I know it was a topic of discussion, so I just wanted
Thank you, sir.
to give you credit for that, sir.
Appreciate it.
Call the question.
However, I think we need to be mindful about, I don't disagree with any of the recommendations. I just think that I would have liked, and I don't know, I wasn't involved with the conversation with Reverend Collins, and I guess you met with the,
About 10 principals.
and the
And
code
Miss,
of conduct. I
Miss
just want to make
Goodwine.
sure that whatever we do, that we are consistent in both documents, because I'm
Yeah.
not convinced it's a matter of policy as much of it may be enforcement. I'm just not
I think the
convinced.
enforcement's going to be very, very hard.
Yeah, the problem, what the principal said is that to have the policy, they have the support for the enforcement. That's their understanding, that they
They don't
have
feel like
support
they
for
have
it.
it in the code of conduct.
No, because parents get, it gives them problems.
So I do have a legal question, if I may. Are you at all concerned about the interpretation among various schools for things like excessively form-fitting or distraction? So this doesn't say that you cannot have a visible tattoo. It says you can't have a visible tattoo that may cause a distraction. And I'm a little concerned about some of those fuzzy languages that you're going to end up with a principal in one school saying, I'm distracted, and a principal in another school saying you're not, but we're the ones that are going to get sued.
So the answer to that question is yes, from a legal perspective.
Thank you.
Typically, dress code policies, and this isn't anything that I hadn't told Reverend Collins and the rest of the team, but typically policies are written generally without very many specifics for that very same reason, and the student code of conduct addresses them more specifically so that the school leaders can then, make informed decisions with regards to how they want to enforce things in their school building. But there are a couple of things in the policy that causes for pause from a legal perspective. Yes, ma'am.
So the bottom line, Ms. Ham, is that you support these items in purple?
I do not.
Okay. That's what I need to hear. All right. Item 9C, as the motion has been made and has been seconded, we ask that you please cast your vote. Are we waiting on someone, Julie?
I was.
Okay. Okay, that motion passes. Mr. Frazier?
Yeah, I would just say that given that we've gotten, call it legal advice, that we're not completely comfortable between first and second reading, I would welcome some refinement to the policy.
Yeah. If necessary, we can meet again if necessary.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I move to approve the early Head Start funding application.
Second.
Okay, properly moved in second. Are there any questions? Hearing none, we ask that you please cast your vote. Mr. Garrett made the motion, Reverend Collins second on item 10A for approval.
It's ridiculous.
Reverend Collins?
Come on our screen.
Motion passes. Item 10B. That's just for information. Were there any questions? C, are there any questions? Is there any non-agenda items, Ms. Darby?
Nope.
Public comments?
People spoke during the earlier public comments.
Okay, consent agenda items has already been approved at the beginning of the meeting. Upcoming meeting will be on February 10th. It will be the committee of the whole meeting, and followed by a February 24th Board of Trustees meeting. At this moment, I entertain a motion for adjourn. So moved.